It's really annoying when a video game gets interrupted by some DEI woke bullshit, and I'm like, Jesus, I was playing a video game here. Can you just leave the video games alone? You don't want to do things that damage art. So it breaks you out of the story.
I stopped playing Overwatch in 2020, and one of the reasons was because of their far-left political agenda. Personalities like Sideshow were openly expressing their white guilt during the Summer of Death 2020, and that was just a huge turn-off for me. I never played a match in Overwatch 2. Marvel Rivals is going to scratch that Overwatch itch for me, and I hope it's going to be a blast. I am really looking forward to playing as characters like Scarlet Witch, Squirrel Girl, Luna Snow, Psylocke, and so on. But we got our almighty influencer overlords that can't leave well enough alone. They want to create the narrative like they always do that Eastern developers are making games to spite Western developers, and that they're making characters with skimpy attire because the West isn't, and that they're making female characters pretty because the West isn't. No. I say to them, fuck off. Like Stellar Blade, Black Myth Wukong, The First Descendant, this is just another game that the developer wanted to make. Why can't it just be that? Why do they have to turn games into political weapons?
Oh, that explains it. I was wondering why Marvel women actually look like women in this game. Give DC to China, Japan, or Korea at this point.
Well, I got news for this MelonieMactivist. Multiverses exists. Any of these influencers that tells you that the West never wants to make products that embrace the quote, male gaze, is lying to you. It's a free-to-play game with DC characters, with bikinis and other skimpy attire, made in America. These people are paid to lie to the public. Because if they were to simply not be aware of these games existing, they could simply use Google and find them. Instead, they don't want any of their followings to know that these types of games exist. As I have said many times already, Multiverses is not a creatively demanding game. Simply put, it's not trying to be a movie. And that's a very important thing to take into account, because when plot is important, the characters and setting reflect it. Multiverses doesn't have much of a story, and so the art direction goes in a more traditional path where the team agrees on the design without taking other factors of the game into account. And Multiverses isn't the only DC game to do this. There's Heroes and Villains Match 3, where again, there's not much of a story, not much of a budget, so the team has more creative freedom to design characters like they have been designed in the comics. And of course, there are also games like Fortnite, which are again made on American soil. Presentation is important when you are to release a story that costs hundreds of millions of dollars to make. Movie studios have known this for over a decade now. That's why Storm doesn't wear panties. That's why Black Widow doesn't have her chest hanging out or double D cups. That's why the women in Mortal Kombat's live-action movies have never looked like the characters in the games up until Mortal Kombat 9. Funny how MelonieMactivists will only target games and not movies, when you can easily see parallels today between the two. I made a whole video on this, so you can easily click to it right here. But anyway, if Sonya Blade ever looked like what she did in Mortal Kombat 9, in a game today, that's it. The cinematic story would be ruined. Who would take this seriously? There is absolutely nothing wrong with a decision like that. There is a time and there is a place for everything. The time and place for an outfit like this is not in a AAA Western game. It's in a free-to-play game, budget game, or mobile game. Because those kinds of games don't require a cinematic presentation or an elaborate, serious plot. But unfortunately, you'll never hear this from your Yellow Flashes or Vara Darks. The problem is 1,000 times more valuable to them than the solution. Marvel Rivals looks great, but when this game releases, just watch them all like the propaganda lapdogs that they are, credit the game's success to anti-wokeism. Apparently, games can't just gravitate towards games that look fun to them anymore. It all has to be political to them, and either a product either is for or against diversity movements.